Well, yet another milestone and a grim one in this pandemic here. More than 1 million people in the U.S. were diagnosed with COVID-19 in the 24-hour period of Monday. Anjalee Khemlani, as always, is with us tracking this. And Anjalee, I've a couple of questions around all of this. One of them has to do with at-home testing, because this million, one would think, is almost certainly an undercount unless it's sort of extrapolated from the reported cases. How do we get to this number?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because this number specifically for a Monday it does have a couple asterisks attached to it. The first being that we are looking at possibly some late reporting from some states from the weekend count. So just a note on that, as well as the fact that, yes, to your point, there are at-home tests not being counted. Ideally, at-home tests that are positive should be followed up by a PCR test, but we cannot guarantee that that is happening across the country. So those are the two parts to that. But that still doesn't disregard the fact that experts do expect that we are hitting that million mark, even if we're not seeing those numbers. I know you and I talked about it just last week about when we started seeing the surge. And so now we are seeing quite a high number. This million does push up the weekly, the 7-day daily average to nearly 500,000. And this is just, we could easily be seeing these numbers regularly for several days in a row in the coming weeks. So even if it is just a little bit off, it is not far from what experts are projecting that this could be. Meanwhile, we are waiting to hear from President Joe Biden today about what is being done to respond to this surge. He's meeting with the White House COVID-19 team at 2 o'clock today and going over things like the resources and personnel being sent out to states and local communities, ongoing work to expand access to COVID-19 treatments, latest information on this Omicron data and the vaccinations, as well as generally speaking information about vaccines, boosters, and masking. On that last one, just want to point out that a lot of discussion is happening around N95 masks or KN95 masks, those highly filtered masks that not a lot of people necessarily know to use. And the administration is being asked by experts to really consider making that mandatory. So we'll wait and see what happens at 2 o'clock today. Back to you.
And very quickly, Anjalee, we have that million case count. What's the hospitalization rate look like at this point?
We're definitely seeing a bit of an increase, and I've been talking about this, that the hospitalization numbers are increasing slowly. We know that it's not quite as high as it has been in previous surges, and that goes back to a number of things, quite honestly, shortages of beds, shortages of staffing. So it's really hard to really gauge the number, and this is why, going back to what I was saying even about the cases, it's really hard to pinpoint exactly what's happening in all of these spaces. We just know that the numbers continue to increase.
Indeed. Thank you, Anjalee, for keeping us posted on all of this.